Welcome to Pass the Turn. This is another Magic the Gathering Mondays top 10 list, and today I am doing my top 10 spider cards from Magic the Gathering. This could either be cards that I find fit the flavour of what a spider would do, or mechanically they are really awesome with regards to how they relate to being a spider, or just if I generally like the card or its artwork, or whether I think it's done me well in previous games. So we're going to start with some honourable mentions, cards that didn't quite make the top 10, but yet I still really like them. If I had a huge amount of time, I would put all of my spider cards pretty much in the honourable mentions, but there was only a couple of spots that I could do for the sake of a video, so I had to choose only a couple. So we'll start with the first honourable mention, which is Penumbra Spider. Now, apologies, I haven't got the play mat, so you will see a little giant line down the side of the table. So first is Penumbra Spider. Basically a 2/4 creature with reach, costs 4 mana, but when he dies, a copy of himself comes into play. Basically, so if he dies, Penumbra Spider comes back in. So this is more like a creeping a wall, basically. So if he dies, he can block flyers. So he dies, he comes back. You haven't dealt with him the first time if he dies. So that's Penumbra Spider, an honourable mention. Now, bear in mind that spiders are not overpowered in Magic. They are have various different abilities and various different things that you can do with them, but they're not a staple in Magic. So they're not very powerful, really. But if you're running a tribal deck, which I plan to do with spiders and insects, potentially one or the other or both, whether it'll be a spider deck and then an insect deck, or maybe an amalgamation of the two, tribal can still be devastating no matter how weak or perceived weak the creature is. But Penumbra Spider is the first honourable mention. Second honourable mention is Sky Snare Spider. So this is a 6/6 Vigilance Reach. It costs 6 mana. So you get a few keywords on there for 6 mana. You get 6/6 Vigilance, so he doesn't tap when he attacks, and you got Reach, so he can block horrible dragons, demons, angels, and basically kill them. He's a 6/6. So it's a trade card that can attack as well without tapping himself. So he can attack and also block. So a good creature of a 6/6 party with the devil. So 6/6 is a good stat block, and it also has vigilance and reach. So it's pretty good at killing pretty much, apart from the big bad boy dragons, it can kill pretty much low to medium range dragons, angels and demons. You can eat him for breakfast, but he will retreat after killing it. He will die himself. So that's Sky Snare Spider, another honourable mention. And the final honourable mention is Watcher in the Web. Awesome card, but with regards to mechanics, it's extremely unique. Never have I seen something like this on a card. So Watcher in the Web is a 2/5 reach spider, and he can block 7 additional creatures each combat. So normally each creature can only block one other creature, right? But because he's a Watcher in the Web and he has giant legs, he can use his legs to block 7 other creatures. So he's got 8 legs, if you imagine, and he's blocking, or he can block 8 creatures each turn. So he's an ultimate defender, and it's just extremely thematic for a spider of his size to be able to block 8 things. So that's Watcher in the Web. So now on to the top 10 list. So this is going to be my first card in the top 10, and coming in at number 10 is Giant Trapdoor Spider. Costs 3 mana, 1 colourless, 1 red and 1 green. He's a 2/3. Now surprisingly, this is a reprint of a very old card from Ice Age, I think. And back then, spiders couldn't block as if they had flying. So reach wasn't a thing back then. So this spider is probably one of the only spiders that doesn't have reach. But trapdoor spiders probably don't have reach anyway, because they lie in wait underground to snatch prey. I don't think they even make webs. I don't think they even climb things. I think they just lay dormant. But yeah, this card is awesome because although he's grounded, he costs 3 mana to play. He's a 2/3, so a pretty good stat block for a 3 mana drop. And if you pay his casting cost with 1 green, 1 red, and 1 other, and tap him, you can remove him from the game and target creature without flying that's attacking you. So he can just lie there and wait. And if they attack you, they have to then decide, which creature am I going to get rid of? Because this guy can immediately just remove from the game a creature that's attacking you on the ground. So he can just tap himself, remove himself from the game and another creature that's attacking you. So basically he's waiting there for the attack to arrive, and then he comes out, grabs one of the creatures without flying and drags them back into the hole with him, into the void of Spiderland. So that's Trapdoor Spider, can immediately exile something when it attacks you, along with himself. Number 9 is Arachnus Spinner, which comes with its own ability here as well, Arachnus Web. So I'll explain this here. So costs 6 mana, 1 forest and 5 others, and he's a 5/7 spider, so solid stat block for a 6 mana drop, as you'd expect. He has reach also, but he can tap an untapped spider I control. So again, tribal benefits here. So you can tap an untapped spider I control, search my graveyard and or library for a card named Arachnus Web and put it onto the battlefield attached to target creature. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. Now, so he can come in as a 5/7 and he can tap an untapped spider, including himself if he wants, to search for this particular card here, which is Arachnus Web. So this would come straight into play if you tap at a spider you control. So he just webs someone up, basically. And the enchanted creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. And at the beginning of the end step, if the enchanted creature's power is 4 or greater, they break through the web and destroy it. So it's a good card for locking down those annoying creatures that have maybe special abilities that you don't really like. So this spider will come in and web that guy up so he can't do his special abilities or triggered abilities. So obviously that creature can then struggle out of the web if they're pumped up by mana or pumped up with power. So if they become power 4 or greater, they can burst out of the web. But then the web will go to my graveyard, right? So this guy can also tap again, another spider, and web them up again. Great card, awesome. Arachnus Spinner. Probably should have put it higher on my list, I'm thinking about it. But we'll bowl with it for now. Arachnus Spinner, awesome card, number 9. Number 8 is sleeved, apparently. Number 8 is Silklash Spider. So this is a 5-cost spider with reach, of course. He's a 2/7, so he has a lot of toughness, not much attack, but can still block big creatures and not die. And this is an awesome card. So he's basically a blaze on a stick for flyers. So none of my creatures are going to have flying. None of them, because they've all got reach. They can block flyers, but they don't actually fly themselves. So this is going to wipe the board of flyers, because it says pay X and 2 forests. Silklash Spider deals X damage to each creature with flying. So if I'm playing against dragons or angels or any sort of flying demon or bird or anything of the sort, Silklash Spider can kill all of them on his own by Xing mana. So that's awesome. It's a blaze on a stick for flyers, and I'm going to have no flyers, so it's not going to damage me at all. So Silklash Spider is a threat if I'm playing against enemies that have flyers in the deck, because this can kill all of them as long as you have the mana to do it. Silklash Spider, basically a board wipe on a stick for flyers. So that was number 8. So number 7 is Grave Robber Spider. So he's again 2/4 with reach, and he costs 3 colourless and 1 forest to bring in. So he's a solid stat block, big toughness, little attack power, but that's the same with all spiders, is they have big toughness but not so much attack power. But if you're running something like Assault Formation, which converts your toughness into power, now that's good. That can make all your spiders extremely solid. which will be in the deck, of course. So this card, Grave Robber Spider, he has an activated ability where he can pay, well, you can pay 1 swamp and 3 others, and he gets +X, where X is the number of creature cards in my graveyard. Activate this ability only once per turn, but he can immediately become solid and can take down anything that were flying on the ground. He can become ridiculously powerful, especially if you draw him late game and a lot of your creatures are already in the graveyard. He can become extremely powerful, and this deck is probably going to be very, very creature based. So that's Grave Robber Spider. Then we have at number 1, 2, 3, 4, number 6, 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, couldn't think. Coming in at number 6 is Lair Spider. This is a multicolored creature. It costs 2 colorless, 2 mountains, and 2 forests. So it's a 6 mana cost in total, and it's a 5/6. Again, solid stat block with reach, of course, because it's a spider. But in a multiplayer game, this would when it would become extremely awesome. It's a shame that its text does not read, whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a 1/1 green spider onto the battlefield. If it said spider, that would be ridiculous in a spider tribal deck when you're playing multiplayer. But it says put a 1/1 green insect into the battlefield, which is still good. It still gives you a load of creatures and it floods the board. And it just comes out. If you're playing a 4-player commander game, when people are playing a spell, you're going to have an army of insects every turn when it comes back through to you. So you're going to have loads of those blockers on the ground ready to soak up a lot of damage or even deal a lot of damage. If I was to draw Alpha Status or Coat of Arms, they would immediately become an army of ridiculous insects on one turn. So again, that's really, really good. Lair Spider. It's a shame that he doesn't generate spiders. He generates insects instead, but still can be devastating if not dealt with ASAP. So that's that. Number 6. Number 5 is Hatchery Spider. A new spider. Just came out recently, I think. I can't remember what this set is now, but it is extremely recent, 2018. So he costs 2 forests and 5 colourless mana, a 5/7 with reach. So again, can block the nastiest dragons and still survive, with an undergrowth ability. So when you cast this spell, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. You may put a green permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this guy can come out, and if it's late game when you have a lot of creatures in your graveyard, you can effectively bring out another creature from the top of your library, which is awesome. But yeah, that's Hatchery Spider. Just brings out another creature along with it, as long as it's converted mana cost X or less, with regards to the amount of cards you have in your graveyard. So that's Hatchery Spider. Also comes through on high on the list because his artwork looks awesome. He looks like the boss from Dark Souls, the Jukes Freya from Dark Souls 2, which looks awesome. That's number 5. Number 4 is Obelisk Spider from Hour of Devastation. So this costs 3 mana in total, 1 colourless, 1 black, 1 green. It's a 1/4 with reach. But whenever he deals combat damage to a creature, put a -1/-1 counter on that creature. So not only does he deal 1 damage, but he also basically poisons that creature, so they get a -1/-1 counter, and that brings their stat block down. So that's awesome. And whenever he puts whenever you put 1 or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. So every time he blocks someone, he also puts a bit of a timer on the game if he blocks as well, especially if you've got like your Swarm Yard back here, you can keep regenerating him, and every time he blocks, people lose 1 life and you gain 1 life. It's good because it distributes -1/-1 counters, gains me life, deals everyone else damage at the same time. So an overall a good card as well for 3 mana, a 1/4 reach that can block anything. Awesome. Number 3 is Kenard, the Graph Widow. Legendary creature spider. So this could be your commander if you're running a spider tribal deck, which it could be, but it's not. I don't think. We'll see. But I haven't made my spider or insect decks yet, so this could be the commander. Depending on what your views are, I'd love to hear your views on the number 1. So Ishkanar Graph Widow. He's a 3/5 reach, costs 4 to bring in. 4 colourless and 1 forest. A 3/5 with reach, with also Delirium. So when he enters the battlefield, if there are 4 or more cards types among cards in your graveyard, put 3 1/2 green spider tokens with reach onto the battlefield. So if there's 4 or more different cards in my graveyard, he comes in with 3 spider friends with reach that can block flyers. And his activated ability is insane for a spider tribal deck. And it says pay 6 colourless and 1 black. Target opponent loses 1 life for each spider you control. So that's Wild Source. If you've got loads and loads of spiders out, which you probably will have, this is going to deal direct damage to an opponent in equal to the amount of spiders you have on the battlefield. So if you're running a spider tribal and they're all pumped up and they've still got an army of spiders on the battlefield, this guy can immediately insta-kill someone or deal some serious unblockable damage. Target opponent loses 1 life. It's not even combat damage, it's lose life. So it just drains you. So Ishkanar Graph Widow could potentially be my commander. Stay tuned for future episodes to see what deck I actually build for the spiders, and you'll see whether this makes it into the commander or whether the other one makes it into commander. And there can only be another one, can't there? But before we get to that, let's do the number 2, which is Deadly Recluse. Awesome card. Unbelievable. If I see Deadly Recluse in my starting hand, I'm like, yes, I'm on an advantage here. Or defensively, I'm solid. Because this guy costs 2 mana to bring in, 1 forest and 1 other. And he's a 1/2, so he can block the majority of 1 or 2 drops and survive. And he has reach and death touch. So it doesn't matter what stage you bring him in during the game. He is an immediate defensive threat. If you swing with a flyer or any creature, whether it be Eldrazi, Titan, Dragon, Angel, Demon, anything that doesn't have indestructible can die to a Deadly Recluse, which has cost me 2 fucking mana. 2 mana! And he can kill anything that he wants. Ridiculous card. Always chuffed if I've got him in my starting hand. That is Deadly Recluse, number 2. But number 1 goes to another potential commander and a new commander card that came in the Lord Windgrace commander pack, and that is Thantis the War Weaver. Legendary creature, spider. So this could also be a commander, which would give you access to red spells as well, because he's red, green and black. So he could run all of those red and green colour creatures like the Dragon Lair Spider and the Giant Trapdoor. You could also put things like Ember Weavers in there as well, because you control red permanents. Loads of spiders are also red as well, and a lot of insects are red also. But let's get back to Thantis. So he gives you, he costs 3 colourless, 1 black, 1 red, 1 green. And he's a 5/5 vigilance reach. So he can also attack and block. You know, he can attack and then he can be there blocking, ready to block anything with flying or anything on the ground he can block. But he is a game changer, because on his card it says all creatures will attack each combat if they are able to. So you force combat. If he's out, you force combat. And that is a great thing if, you know, all these creatures with flying and all these things are running into your spiders that you can immediately regenerate or bring back or what have you. That is great. You know, they're just baiting. The spiders are baiting people to come into their nests and get killed by Thantis and his legions. And another great thing here is whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, put a +1/+1 counter on Thantis the War Weaver. So not only are you baiting people to attack you, they don't even have to attack you. That's a good thing. You know, you're playing with your opponents here. You can, with this guy out, all creatures attack each combat if able, but they don't have to attack you. They can attack other players, which only benefits you as well. But if they do attack you, Thantis gets a +1/+1 counter, and you know a lot of their creatures are going to be running into giant spiders, which is also great and thematic. So that's been my top 10 spiders list. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you feel that I've missed some key 8-legged arachnids, then by all means drop them in the comments and I'll have a revisit of this list maybe in a few months' time, depending on how my commander deck goes. I haven't built it yet, but a lot of these spiders will feature, if not all of them, will feature in the commander list for Thantis or Ishkanar, depending on which one goes. There might even be two separate ones, maybe a Thantis and an Ishkanar, maybe an amalgamation of the two, or maybe just Thantis or Ishkanar. But they will both definitely be in the deck. It's just depending on what I actually know. It depends, because Thantis is 3 colours, Ishkanar's 2, so that would limit the deck, wouldn't it? So it's a tough one. Stay tuned and you'll see which commander I choose for my spider deck, whether it be Thantis or Ishkanar, but there's definitely a reason why Thantis is my number 1. Thanks for tuning in again for another Magic the Gathering Mondays segment here on Pass the Turn. I've been Aaron Francis, and you can come back every Monday for more Magic the Gathering content, whether that be a top 10 list, an unboxing, a commander game, a modern, a planes chase. We do different things every week, so make sure you come back and have a look at what we're doing next. You can tune in also on Tuesdays for board game related content and Wednesdays for Dungeons and Dragons related content as well. So keep your eyes peeled on Pass the Turn. I've been Aaron Francis, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Basically, nah, fuck that. Start again. Take two. Take two.